Should we be
I
surprised?
don't know what I saw.
Should we be surprised at this result at LIV?
No. The competition is not as strong week to week on LIV as it is on the PGA Tour. So it doesn't surprise me that they weren't given the points.
What is up, everybody? How you living? No putts given. We're back. Live and Let Die. I just started reading it. It's right there. It's a book. Tony, read any books lately?
No, but I have heard about that one.
You haven't read any books lately? That's a damn shame.
Talking with Max Adler from Golf Digest a week or two back, and he was in the process of reading it as well. So seems to be the hot book.
It is
in golfs.
A hot book. And speaking of hot things, topics that are percolating. Like I said, we had Lexi playing the Shriners last week. Almost made the cut. I mean, she was on the cut line, inside the cut line, then obviously ended up just outside the cut line. What's your quick takeaway? We talked about it last week, but quick takeaways, quick response to that.
If you ain't first, you're last.
Ricky Bobby.
But that's it. I mean, things got a little out of hand for day two there, but I mean, you had to go low. I mean, you needed 4 rounds in the 60s to be competitive, and to be near the top of the leaderboard, one of those rounds had to be in the really low 60s.
Yeah.
So, a couple shots here or there, and she's playing on the weekend. So that's impressive.
Yeah, I think no doubt it's absolutely impressive. I go back, I'll double down on my comments and kind of things before, which is I don't think that this is what women's golf needs right now. I think, when Annika did it, it was like almost a sense, kind of the Billie Jean King thing too. Like, man, playing so far above the level of their current competition, what might it look like if they were challenged, let's say, in this type of environment? Just kind of where would it land? And as impressive as Lexi's play was in a lot of different arenas, and she's probably one of a few female golfers that could, in this type of setup compete because she does have kind of requisite length off the tee. She didn't make the cut. She didn't contend in these things. And so it's like, is this really the opportunity we're going to trot out in front of the best female players? Is, hey, you have an opportunity to play in an event where it's highly unlikely you're going to make a cut, and we're just going to throw a lot of pressure on you, and hey, just kind of see how you respond and get a couple extra clicks and ticket sales from it. Like, is that really the best way to promote women's golf?
I mean, it's the issue is it's always a one-off situation, right? The sample size is always one. So
right.
I don't know. I mean, golf is a game where if you can compete off the tee distance-wise, we know there's a correlation there.
Sure.
But if you've got a woman who can hold up, there's absolutely no reason through the rest of the bag why a women's game can't be as strong as a man's. Right? It's not strictly a power sport. It's
right. You got to chip
once you get off the tee, right?
Sure.
You got to chip, you got to putt, you got to have accuracy with your irons. But the issue, it's sample size of one, and it's always a sample size of one when this has happened, right? It's Annika, let's try this one time. And we'll wait a few years and we'll try it again with Michelle Wee.
Right.
And then let's wait, a decade plus, whatever it's been, let's try it again with Lexi. And so, out of curiosity, I'd love to see what would happen if she was out there week after week. Could she move up? Could she move down? Yeah, somebody's going to say, well, she hasn't been great on the LPGA this year.
Which is fair.
Off year, but she was one of the best in the world, probably still is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, but I think you're right. There's probably better ways to showcase the women's game.
And lest we forget, it was Tom Kim back-to-back. Horses for courses, these type of things. Tom Kim did win. It's always, like I said, sometimes we'll look and say, hey, what's not in the bag? If there's something interesting there. There wasn't. Tom Kim's Titleist top to bottom, so you saw everything you expected to see.
I don't know, and that's the other thing, too. If it was just about any other company, we'd have gotten a press release detailing every piece of equipment.
Sure.
Titleist typically doesn't do that when their guys win anyway. So, yeah, well, I don't know. I don't want to say either way, but
I was probably too busy reading his post where he said that he was very excited to get back to his hotel room and eat chocolate. He wanted to finish some chocolate. He's 21. He's in Las Vegas, and God bless him, he wants to get back to his home hotel room and eat chocolate, which I appreciate. Also, last week, No Soup for You, one of the better Seinfeld episodes ever. But that's effectively what the official World Golf Rankings said to LIV Golf after almost a year and a half of consideration, that they will not be welcomed into or included in the official world rankings for golf, that entire point system, etc. What do we make of this, Tony? I mean,
I was wrong, by the way. Tom Kim does have a deal.
So Tom Kim does have a deal.
That. Yeah.
Well, 14 club deal, good, because I have a question about that later. So clarifying that, but should we be surprised?
I don't know what I saw.
Should we be surprised at this result that LIV?
No.
Why?
I mean, and I think if anything, they've kind of laid out a roadmap now, because that was sort of, you kind of felt like maybe it wasn't clear what LIV could do about the lack of points problem. And here, OWGR has kind of laid out what you need to do. They've acknowledged that, all right, so it's a smaller field and you only play 3 days.
Right.
But we can math our way through that. So that's pretty clear. And I think if that were like, let's put the rest of it off on the side.
If that were the only,
if they did say, here's the math we're gonna like, the LIV guys aren't gonna like it, because it absolutely has to reflect the fact that, let's be honest, the talent pool on LIV is not as deep.
Sure.
The competition is not as strong week to week on LIV as it is on the PGA Tour. I know somebody's going to argue that, but they're full of crap. If you think about this rationally, I think everybody knows that is reality. And you're only playing for 3 days, so you're starting at 75% of your potential points, and then you've got the reduced field on top of it. So it almost feels like we're going to give you some points, but we're probably not going to give you everything you need to really rise in the world rankings. So ultimately, I don't know how much it would get them, even if they could resolve the issue. And the other issue being, there's no real way to play your way on or play your way off. Although it does seem, I just saw today, right? Couple 2-3 guys got booted,
relegated.
They played their way off, but you don't really play your way on. You sort of just, you take your money and you come play. So it's, I don't know what you call that process, but so it doesn't surprise me that they weren't given the points. It is almost surprising that there is a roadmap, and it is what it is. I think it's reasonable. Ultimately, I don't care. I mean, I'm not. I don't watch the serious tour. I'm not going to watch the exhibition one. So,
I mean, and still, right? 99% of golf is, to me, what I do. In terms of playing with my buddies, and you played this Tee It Forward campaign tournament and whatever. That's still golf, right? That is still how people play and enjoy golf. And so this stuff, it's it's interesting to discuss and talk about, but. The one thing I do wonder is, or I guess 2 points is, I think there was a pretty extreme amount of hubris going in, kind of this like, hey, we'll just kind of bend the will of the rulemaking bodies to our product and who we are and what we do. And I wonder how much, players, how much of those conversations were kind of under that selling you a bill of goods kind of proposal, like, hey, no, this is going to work out, da-da-da-da-da, and now it's like, well, it's not. It isn't working out. It is working out for the players that have, say, lifetime exemptions into certain major tournaments or long-term exemptions into other tournaments, and you have 2 of the 4 majors, right, that are still open, and if you are one of the best players in the world, then you should have no issue with an open opportunity to compete and earn your way into something. So for those players, doesn't really change anything. But now, it's like, well, sorry, and people will argue, right, that the job of the world rankings is to.
It's absurd though, because the OWGR their system is in place. It is well designed.
Right.
You know what the qualifications are, right? it's not like this dark secret. Like it's pretty
No.
well spelled out how you can agree that, all right, maybe the formulas aren't perfect and they miss some things
Sure.
here and there. That's fine, right? There are very few perfect systems that exist anywhere in the world.
Correct.
But you knew what you had.
You knew what it was going in. That's the hubris part.
Right. This idea that we're going to have this new tour that is unlike any other tour. And that's the point, right? Was to be different. It was basically 2 points. One,
Sure.
we need to wash Saudi Arabia's balls.
Right.
So we've got to be the ball washer for Saudi Arabia.
Right.
And two, we need to be fundamentally different so that the story isn't just a competitive tour. It's an entirely different format.
Sure.
It's golf, but louder. It's exciting, right?
Right.
And so you have this whole idea where we're going to do things differently. That is the point. We're going to be different. Mm-hmm. And you expect a well-established organization just to go, oh, well, you're doing it different, and we're just going to bow to your will. We're going to come along.
Right.
We don't, we're totally on board with your different. Like, it doesn't work like that. The world has never worked like that. You can't expect to come in. There's no situation I can go into and say, hey, look, I know you've been doing things a while. You have an established process, but you need to change just for me because I need to be different to succeed. So, if you could just adapt to my needs, I would really appreciate that. The guy that expects you to do that, he's a dick. So this whole thing, it's a dick idea that the OWGR would just be like, well, okay, we'll do it your way. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's the kid. It's the kid that is 40, knows that they're 46 inches tall, walks up to the roller coaster that's 48 inches to ride.
Ride this ride.
It's 48. They walk up and like, hey,
rules don't apply to me.
Can we have a conversation here?
I'm very important, so I need 2 inches. I need to be gifted 2 inches because I'm important.
Yeah, exactly. No. Well, trends in the world last week. We saw this TaylorMade P770 Phantom, which is a term that we often associate with maybe Scotty Cameron putters or things that lurk in the dark or Rolls Royces. I mean, a lot of things. But first of all, just really quick, what is it? I don't think that will take us long to describe, right? Because it's the same thing that we tend to see. But what is this release?
It's P770.
Okay. With
black PVD on it and a black KBS shaft.
There you go.
We're done here. Thanks for playing.
Yeah. So it's an aesthetics package. It's a
this is
package.
We've seen this. Everybody does this every year, and sometimes the finish changes. I think Titleist, for example, in the last time around went from a black PVD to a smoky kind of more durable thing. And that's what you hope to see is mix it up a little bit, ideally improve it. But I mean, when the irons come out, like, hey, P790, the new ones came out not too long ago.
And when are we going to get the black ones?
About a year from now, give or take, we'll be talking about the black.
So is this played out though, this kind of thing where it's like, hey, and like you said, this is not a company specific thing. Everybody or do you look forward to this?
No, I don't know that I look forward to it. And there's certainly between categories, there are a different way to do it. First of all, almost nobody has a 2-year cycle on a driver right now. That may change. It'd be interesting. What if Titleist, for example, did something cool in year 2 of, TS whatever comes next kind of thing.
If it's TS something,
But there's only, with the iron category in particular, there's only so much you can do. It's not like a golf ball where you can do, I guess you can loosely argue this is a Halloween themed release like TaylorMade did with golf balls and Callaway did with golf balls, but you can't adapt to. You're not going to have 4th of July P770s and Halloween 77 and Christmas, right?
Right.
You don't have the same ability just to print as you do on a golf ball. It's not even like a wedge release, for example, where Vokey tries to keep it fresh with WedgeWorks and, hey, all right, we don't call it a special edition Masters, but we're going to roll out. We know you're going to get kind of this high lofted, low bounce thing that comes out around Augusta.
You're going to roll a bunch of 17 degree grinds. 2 irons coming out in the middle of the summer with
exactly.
the Open.
So you can do that kind of thing, but I think it's a trade-off. Which would you rather have as a golfer? Would you rather know that? That Adam is calling.
Hi, Adam.
Would you rather know that irons are going to come out in black, and if you wait a year, you'll have that choice,
right?
Or would you, and knowing that that's the trade for the extended release cycle? right? Like
Right.
these have a 2 to 3 year runway instead of what it
Mm-hmm.
used to be 1 year for a lot of different categories. So if the trade-off knowing that, hey, we're going to keep these on the shelf for 2, maybe even 3 years, is somewhere in the middle of that cycle, we're going to roll out a black one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good trade. I like it.
Yeah.
So keep going, keep doing
Is there anything else you would want to see? Like if black became not the thing anymore, which again, for the record, I like the black releases. I like.
Can I say blue? I mean, it's just.
I mean, you
mix it
can.
up. Mizuno's done blue. We've
gonna-
seen copper. We've seen things like that. So it's, hey, but it's all just about, with an iron, it's just about changing the colors. There you go,
Yeah,
right? So blue Mizunos, you can do that,
Yeah.
and that's. I mean, like I said, irons are limited. I love what Titleist does with Wedgeworks, where it rolls out grinds. Although, quite frankly, I wish you could just get any grind whenever you wanted it. As a consumer, as a golfer,
Why wouldn't
I feel
you
like
want that? That
that's
sounds
the better
amazing.
option. But
that sounds amazing.
But in the interest of keeping it fresh, that's cool. And I love, again, I mentioned TaylorMade and Callaway with the, every month or two there's a limited edition or new pattern on a golf ball. So little things like that to keep it fresh. I'm good with all of it.
Yeah, I like
Sure.
it, and the reason I like it is, one, I don't find as many people that are just ambivalent. Like, people tend to either, I like the dark irons, I like black, even though they're going to wear, and they're going to wear and show wear differently and show wear quicker, just in general, than, typically a chrome or satin iron. But I don't find a lot of people I like them both equally. So if you want to buy it right out of the gate, it's like, this is awesome. And if hey, maybe around a year after release, there might be something like this, go ahead. You can wait for that. Or the companies would love it if you would do this. Trade in your first generation of those irons and get the new limited release irons and go from there. So, speaking of which, we got new products. We got new things that did come out. Let's talk about those really quickly. Mizuno Irons, let's go right into that, because these are ones that personally I wait for and I get a little bit excited about them, have historically. So what's new, Tony? What do we got?
We got new Mizuno Pro, which is, formerly MP.
Formerly MP.
That's where it came from. It was Mizuno Pro. And so, that's what we've got. 3 new irons. Exciting, right? And it's pretty typical. Kind of follows the recent cadence. You got a little bitty blade.
221.
It seems like the story here is like everything's just a little bit smaller, a little more player-centric in appearances. So you got a little blade, and you've got a smaller version of the cavity back in the 243. Did I get that right? And then the 245, your hollow body player's distance iron. Again, a little more compact, better feel is always kind of an emphasis there. And it's kind of everything you would expect from Mizuno Pro. Not much not to like if you're a Mizuno fan.
Sure.
And one of the things Mizuno has habitually done really well, and it's true of the Mizuno Pro Series, it's true of JPX, is to build forgiveness. And everything's relative. You're never going to have an uber forgiving compact muscle back. That doesn't exist.
Right.
But you can have a compact muscle back that's more forgiving than another compact muscle back. And that's kind of where Mizuno has always at least quietly emphasized. We always talk about feel, right?
Sure.
Nothing feels like a Mizuno. Got to look great, got to feel great. But it's this idea of, we're going to build you as forgiving a golf club as we possibly can in a more compact shape than you would probably find with any of our competitors. It's kind of the Mizuno philosophy. So, it's not going to have a blade length like a Ping does, for example. We're going to keep it small. We're going to put as much forgiveness as we can in this little package. And we know that that's kind of something that has a lot of appeal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like...
As a guy playing T350s.
As a guy, yeah, right? I like, with the MP, like you said, historically, MP line had kind of been the players-ish line, if you will, and JPX was more of the game improvement sphere, and now those things have been kind of redefined. But what I like is that Mizuno seems to have more of a sense of the purpose of the MP models this time around. And I guess what I mean by that is, if you go back to like the MP 18s, which I know are a couple generations old, but like the SC and the MB in that MP18 series were so close performance wise. One kind of cannibalized the other. It's like there really wasn't a reason to go with the MB over the SC or vice versa. So I think this time around it's even more meaningfully, kind of meaningfully distinct within there. So it's like, hey, if you want a muscle back, and this is what that muscle back does, you're not going to see a huge amount of overlap between that and the 243, right? The cavity back. And the cavity back, you're not going to see a huge amount of overlap between that and then obviously the 245, right? As kind of the players.
Better differentiation for. I mean, they kind of figured that piece out. And
yeah, we'll go maybe a little
place.
A little more in-depth.
Built again to be. We talk about blended sets, mixed sets, combo sets, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Built to be seamlessly mix and match. You can throw some JPX in the mix if you want to. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of designed to work as an entire Mizuno offering.
And we'll go into kind of more details in the after show if you want to stick around for that, talking MP stuff, Mizuno Irons in general, those type of things. But also just a couple pictures that popped up here on, kind of the tour stuff. I saw a little AI terminology being placed on some Odyssey putters that look new. My question is this: we don't know much about the putters. Yeah, I think there's an event that maybe you're headed to in a while. Is that right?
What's today? Yeah, about 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
2 weeks.
So 2 weeks you're going to go learn about things, but...
Going to Frisco, baby.
Frisco, Texas?
Texas, not San Fran.
Well, get some good...
San Francisco.
San Francisco. What could AI do in a putter? I mean, so if this is clear, right? I mean, you got AI as kind of the moniker on there. My question is, if it is still in kind of this face design application that we've seen it before, what is you're sitting there thinking, okay, how might they use this? Any ideas on what you could do with AI on the face of it?
I would expect it's going to be kind of similar stories that we've heard from others, albeit without AI. This idea of like, hey, we can correct for slightly open, slightly closed faces at impact. We can provide consistent roll all over the face, maintain consistent speed all over the face. So I think it's all going to fall under consistency. And I guess that's what you would expect with a putter, right? You're not trying to jailbreak your ball speed and find a way to get 3 more miles an hour inside the USGA limits and things like that. So
right.
Yeah, I would expect a consistency story of some kind.
Yeah.
Of every kind.
Yeah.
All the kinds.
Hopefully it'd be interesting. I mean, we know Odyssey putters are ubiquitous out on all the tours of the world, and it is a lot of it's an Odyssey world out there with some other putter makers kind of living in it. So they've had, a long history of dominance in some areas and certainly high level tour usage. And so, yeah, be interesting to see how they are leaning into the AI with that. Also saw a couple shafts out there for those of you that are following in the shaft space. J-Wall over at golf.com posted some of these, but we had seen a new whiteboard model coming out from Mitsubishi. Saw something called potentially it's probably internal name, but Nautilus Neo Fujikura. Seeing some things out there. The whiteboard is interesting because fundamentally that profile hasn't changed a whole lot. It's kind of it's been a variation on that profile. I mean, Graphite Design created an entire company around basically one shaft profile. But the whiteboard is there. It's still there. Lower launch, probably lower spin, updated materials.
And that's usually what it is, right? We just tweak the materials, tweak the profile here and there, but...
Yep. But if you're a low launch, low spin person and you used to be that whiteboard, blue board person, you're like, oh yeah, whiteboard in my driver, blue board in my, fairway woods or whatever. New whiteboard potentially coming out there. The Nautilus Neo, no idea on what this thing is. I have a guess. If you had to guess, if you had to guess,
we're what 2 years deep on TR now, right? So
change.
Could be time for 3rd generation Ventus, a Neo Ventus, but I have no idea. And that's the other thing too. Like you almost forget that Fujikura has other metalwood shafts. You just feel like, and at some point, you almost find yourself like, why? Just, it's a Ventus world. You created it. Why not live in it? But who knows? What do you think?
I don't know. Could be. Yeah. So whether it's Ventus TR, you've built out that. Is this a Motore replacement? Something in there? Where they get a decent amount of usage. Tours again, maybe not as much on the PGA Tour, but certainly around and on other tours. So maybe something there. It could be a new speeder profile, possibly. We'll see. Those are kind of the two most obvious avenues to me. Maybe it's something like crazy, and it's like counterbalance only for 46-inch shafts or something, or for longer drivers. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's a very specific use case. Like
maybe it's Autoflex. Fuji's Autoflex. Is that still a thing?
Fuji,
still
I don't know.
Autoflex?
I don't know. I don't know though. Could be. Wait, great opportunity out there, people. Check it out. We have a white box testing opportunity prototype.
This is coming. We're a day later than we expected, I believe. So this will drop Thursday, which will be tomorrow. If you're watching this the first day it releases. Hold on.
Check. Yeah. Oh, Tony will be right back. But while he's doing that, this is a white box testing opportunity. Unlike, I can't really think if we've done anything quite like this before, but unreleased Titleist golf ball. And they want feedback. And so with that feedback, we are selecting testers to basically do that. Test the balls, give us your feedback. We are not sharing any details about this ball or anything like that. We just want to know, what do you think? How does it play? What performance characteristics do you notice? And so I think we're going to have up to 100 testers, if I'm not mistaken. Question mark. Looks a lot like a question mark there, Tony. What do we got? What do we got?
I don't know. It's white box.
That's the fun part. So yeah, check that out. Apply.
And then you just you open up the white box and there's
balls.
More white boxes. I got they sent me a dozen. These are actually pretty sure these are different white box than what we're talking about here. But if you're interested in testing out the same ones I got, these are number 16s, by the way, to help you identify them.
Okay.
I left 2 of them on the course in my regular leagues over the weekend.
Hey, that's not bad, Tony. It's not bad. 2 balls lost in the round. I mean, I'll take that.
After a while, I kind of dialed it back. So
anyway, check that out. Apply.
Driver's not working right.
It's going to be a really cool test. I'm super excited to see
what people
notice. White box testing. I love that. All right, Tony, get your running shoes on. It is treadmill time. Speed golf. Here we go. Tom Kim made me think of this because he's Titleist throughout the bag. 14 club contracts, or a player playing all 14 clubs in their bag from one manufacturer. Are we going to see more of these or less of these moving forward?
I think for most that's probably a bad idea, and a lot of guys like to have that freedom to have a couple 2, 3 that aren't contractually mandated. So I think we're seeing less of it than we used to, and I don't think we'll see a lot of it.
Yeah, more an anomaly. I think 10 and 11 club contracts are going to continue to dominate. I think maybe even fewer. We see people like Luke List won week before, and I believe he's irons only with PXG, or at least that's the hat, which is what they want, but irons in there, and everything else was other brands. So we'll see. Last week flew out to Goat Hill.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it. Goat Hill Park. It's amazing. It's an awesome place. Did a 30-shot challenge with Matt Fryer. Matt Fryer Golf. He's on the YouTubes. So 30-shot challenge works like this, Tony. You tee off and you play as many holes as you can, and you have to stop once you hit your 30th shot. What hole? So I'll give you a little background. We played the back 9 at Goat Hill. Matt had never seen the back 9. I had never seen the back 9. So I think when we were out there, we played the front 9 and some of that. So I'd never seen the back 9. What hole do you think I finished on. What did I get to? You say 7?
7. Yep.
I appreciate your optimism, Tony. I love that. What hole do you think Matt Fryer got to? Now, again, he's former pro. He's like a +2, +3s, a better golfer than I am by a couple strokes. What do you think he got to?
Let's see.
By the way, nobody's ever completed it. There's been a couple guys that had a putt for 31. And again, course, difficulty, all those things come into play here, but nobody's finished the 30.
I'm saying he got one more than you.
You're correct about that. He did get one more than me, but I actually got to my putt on 8. I was
8, 9.
I was on 8. He got to 9. I was proud of myself, Tony. I felt darn.
I think the way I'm playing, I might have got 4 in.
A quick 30-shot challenge. Hey, it can go.
I'm telling you. So it turns out like the forward tee shamble ideal for me because I am not accountable for my own drive. I just go play the better one. It's great.
What a concept.
Anyway,
I love that.
I love it. Yeah.
Saw some of these watches out there. $3,000 I'm seeing for some of these watches. We profiled one of them, the Garmin. There's a Garmin Carbon Edition GPS. There's the Tag Heuer collection that we profiled before. Again, can't call them watches, Tony. We have to call them what?
Fine timepieces.
They're timepieces. If you're spending that much, it's not a watch.
They are fine timepieces.
They're fine
timepieces. Like I think timepiece starts at like 1,500.
Is that what it is?
And once you cross 3,000, you are into fine timepiece.
All right. So, are you going to buy one of these?
Money.
Are you?
No,
is this your space?
I begrudgingly wearing this Apple Watch. Like I'm just not a watch guy anyway. My brother-in-law is like a huge watch guy. He has like a special box that winds them and does things like that. So he's totally into this stuff. I don't necessarily feel any need to accessorize.
Okay.
So yeah, the BFM for GPS technology works for me. I don't need fancy.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting though. I'd love to hear from people out there that this is your avenue because it's not mine. I'm not as much of a fine timepiece guy either. But if you are that person,
does it have a calculator?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember the old Casios. I love that.
Yeah,
but if that's you,
better.
Let us know. I'd love to know people that are in like where is that for you? Why is that attractive to you? Zero judgment. Because like I said, price is all relative on all these things. But I would just love to know people that is what
somebody's
your fancy. Absolutely. Somebody. So I just want to know what it is. Like what intrigues you about a GPS watch, whether it's Tag or like you said, Garmin. Maybe there's others that will get into that space. What is it that attracts you there? Anyway, last one. We had a post. We've kind of done some of these things like, hey, if you had to play one golf ball the rest of your life, if you had to eat, one breakfast food the rest of your life, those type of ideas. And we said, hey, if you had to play one driver for the rest of your life, Ping was the number one answer. That surprised me. Did that surprise you?
No, I think it's the right answer. I mean, it's tough. And I know certain guys, right? You just kind of gel with a brand. I know loyal TaylorMade guys and loyal Callaway guys and loyal insert brand name here guys. But
sure.
I mean, especially when we talk about the guys who buy off the rack and mistake avoidance, right? How to all but guarantee you never end up with a terrible driver for you.
Yeah.
Like I'd say if you're going in blind, if you're not going to get properly fit, I would tell you to take your chances with Ping all day, every day. So
yeah,
that to me is I don't know that they'll put it on any advertising campaign, but in terms of drivers, I feel like Ping is the safest brand in golf. Like you're not gonna tilt to one extreme or another or anything like that. So yeah, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, and for the record, other companies, brands, if Ping was at roughly 30%, I think something close to that. 25, 26% were the next couple. Which, like you said, it makes sense. People get in an ecosystem like anything else. I'm a TaylorMade guy. I'm a Callaway guy. I'm a Titleist guy. Whatever the case is, and that's what those companies, every company, right, tries to do to agree is create brand loyalty. They want people to come back to that. But yeah, I said, if you're a point and shoot person and you're treating it kind of like lottery tickets, if you will, I bet Ping lottery tickets would pay out better than almost anybody else. if you're just going up there and buying one, say, hey, yep, all right, G430 max, boom, that thing is going to fit a lot of people, and you're probably not going to get too sideways with it. Hell, even if you bought the SFT, there's probably more people that could do with an SFT than probably even think. And it's like, oh, yep, here you go play this. I think they certainly have that. So there you go, Tony.
Yeah.
Couple questions. I love it. That's the main show. But in the after show, we are going to talk Mizuno Irons because we got to dive in a little bit deeper. So stick around for that. As always, comments, questions. Find us on the interwebs. Golfspy T, Golfspy C. Find us all over the place. And until then, we'll be right back. Our dogs are running amok as they're wont to do from time to time. So Mizuno Irons. Like I said, I played Mizuno Irons for a long time, going back to like the MX-23.
JPXEZ.
Yeah, the orange irons that Mizuno just would prefer we never talk about ever again.
No, those were the gateway for a lot of people.
Boy,
to a different brand.
Yeah. But I remember, JPXEZs played the MP. Hey, what are you doing? Stop it. And you have this lineage. And the reason I mention this is nothing feels like Mizuno, the history, the original relationship with Chuo, which you got to visit, which is the forging house that they still have kind of, I think, one of the coolest things in golf, which is basically a handshake agreement to do business together. There's nothing on paper. It's kind of that type of an agreement. But if you played a single piece forged iron, and this is not true only for Mizuno, but others. So MP33s, right? You have MP60s. We can go through the whole lineup. MP62s, 32s, so on and so forth. It was a precision play, not a distance play. And things are changing, right? They're talking about kind of tech advanced forging. Is that reasonable, do you think, Tony, to expect from... Oh, buddy. I think I just accidentally rolled over my dog.
Well, that'll teach him some kind of lesson.
Yeah, it might. Sorry, buddy. Is that reasonable?
I think maybe you can expect evolution, new materials, new design strategies, maybe get a faster single piece forging, but the idea that, I don't know that you're going to get to kind of that multi-piece hollow body type ball speed, but you can improve, you can get better. And the good news is, right, the guy who's looking at these MP 241s and thinking, or Mizuno Pro 241, thinking,
right,
I'm going to get these. Right. I want these. He's not looking at it going, I'm going to get them because they're going to give me filthy distance. It's the control and the aesthetics. And so it's like I said, it's about trying to get a little more than you would expect out of what you got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's kind of go through the lineup too. Again, we mentioned these. So you got 241s, which are the muscle backs. You have the 243s, which I don't know, let's call them kind of the not player's distance, because I think that's the 245 still, but the 243 is a player's cavity back iron, and the 245s is a player's distance model. I, for one, am glad to see that they've continued on with this copper underlay. I know it's maybe lost on some people, or but it was gone for a long time. I mean, they had it like with the TN87s, and it used to be a thing that Mizuno had several decades ago. They got rid of it, right? Because it's just expensive to do another layer of something that people never saw or maybe didn't appreciate, but then brought it back a couple generations ago, I think with the MP20s. And
this will be third generation MP copper, and obviously they kind of rolled it into JPX.
And it's something that you see at times in, I guess, if you will, more expensive forgings in different Japanese companies where they'll do. It could be, I mean, it's not always a copper underlay, but basically you have you got a raw. This isn't raw, but this is a finished head. But you have a raw head, and then typically it's finished in some type of a chrome or satin finish that's plated on, right? And in between that plated finish and the raw head, sometimes there's small layers of things that impact feel. It could be a layer of nickel, it could be a layer of copper, it could be something else entirely, but that's part of adds steps to the process, adds cost to the process. Um, so again, we have this feature continuing on in the line, which I'm excited to see. That's one of my favorite pieces of this particular rollout, and I don't know. What are your thoughts, Tony? What else?
Yeah, I mean I'm intrigued by the middle one there, the 243, and that's usually the one that I'm least intrigued by, but it gives me just looking at it like I get like MP25 vibes
Oh,
a
okay,
little bit. So
okay.
that was one that I think a lot of our readers love, tested really well for us
Mm-hmm.
way back in the day. That's how far it seems like forever ago. So
Does.
that one intrigues me. And again, I mean, if you kind of look at where Mizuno has been in the players distance category, what is now the 245, they've been strong performers when we look at the totality of things. Like, oh yeah, the guys they hit them really straight. They're accurate. They tend to be a little more forgiving than most on the players' side of
Mm-hmm.
that category, but they haven't held up for distance, right? They've always been
Maybe a half step behind.
traditionally
there, right?
one of the shortest in the category, and so
Yep.
I'm intrigued there to say, all right, a lot of talk about distance here,
Mm-hmm.
but can we deliver? Do we have something? I'm not expecting to compete with like a P790 or something that's like truly engineered for distance first. But
Mm-hmm.
if you could pick up a couple 2-3 yards, that would be intriguing for sure.
Well, and yeah, like we said, kind of the thought process. It seems like, or kind of the guiding design philosophies throughout this line was take the existing MP line or Mizuno Pro line and make the club slightly. I mean, anything we can do, right? We're talking millimeters here, but can we make the top line ever so slightly thinner? Can we make the heel to toe footprint slightly more compact? But can we give people slightly more ball speed and more forgiveness? So basically, can we make the clubs smaller yet better? I mean, faster and more
better,
forgiving.
gooder.
So can we take, even if they're really small steps, can we take steps that make the physical size smaller, but the performance bigger and faster? That's kind of the.
I mean, this has been something Mizuno has talked about for several generations. We even hot metal, for example, has become such a big part of the Mizuno business. Like massive success.
Yeah,
for
remember the
iron line.
HMB?
Not the first one that comes to mind necessarily when I say, "Hey, think of a Mizuno iron."
Right.
It's not a hot metal that pops into my mind, but it's been a tremendous success for them, and that's one too where truly fits within the game improvement category. It absolutely
Correct.
belongs there.
Yeah.
It's not like a player's iron that they're trying to stretch a little more out of.
Right.
And if you look at that, it is more compact, smaller, right? Thinner top lines, even a little bit less offset in some cases than most of what you find in that category. And it still holds up. And I would say I would wager above category averages for things like pick your, and Mizuno, right, uses a core area metric. Everybody's got their own forgiveness metric, but under Mizuno's metric, it certainly more than holds its own against larger bladed irons. And so that's always been part of the story. So let's deliver everything you could want in a given category,
right?
But give you more than you should be able to get.
Yeah, that little kind of value added piece, I think. And another piece that's kind of interesting to me here too is, again, working in both directions to try and mitigate opportunity costs that there were before, right? So you think making a club any amount smaller would decrease forgiveness, but they're trying to make it slightly smaller and increase forgiveness. So same thing kind of here, like making each model more distinct. We kind of talked about this, like if they were each kind of their own Venn diagram and like back to the MP18s, the SCs and the MBs, they're, it was almost one one circle.
Just slightly, just ever so slightly offset circles.
Yeah, and so now they want 3 distinct circles with maybe a hint of overlap. So you have that, but then also they increased the bounce angle a little bit throughout the line. So they gave the irons a little bit more bounce because kind of what they're saying is, people do combo these, which they want people to do, and they're engineered right and designed to do that. Most of the time, if you combo a set, you tend to decrease loft, particularly in like scoring irons. So if somebody were going with the 241 MBs, and let's say they're normally a 46 degree pitching wedge or something, and they're going to bend them a degree or two strong to 44, 45, that would decrease the bounce angle, right? So, because bounce moves the same direction as loft. So if they increase the bounce a little bit to start, that means if they do combo it, it's just, again, a little bit more of a seamless configuration, or almost like they were put together.
Meant to be bent.
Ooh. They might steal that one from you.
I hope not.
I kind of like that.
Tragic for them. I can do better.
So, but just kind of, again, kind of this forward-thinking piece of, how can we slightly improve performance, not just for people that are going to buy one model, but again, in that combo set world, which is kind of the world now. So, I think that.
Wait, what was that? What's the number of Tour Pros? What's the Titleist number? Tour Pros in combo sets?
Yeah,
I want to say 60.
It was way more than 50. Was it? I want to say like 2/3, but
okay.
But
it's more than half.
More than half comfortably. So I think that part's interesting. What would you guess, Tony? Because I always think this is interesting, like to go through a fitting. Like I would not have come out of the Titleist fitting in the clubs that I did, in terms of just predicting, hey, what do I think? Like if I had to write it down on a piece of paper.
You wouldn't have.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough, right?
I'm walking out of this with a full bag of T350s and maybe a hybrid. That's
not what you had written down on your card. So, all right. So we're going to go into a Mizuno fitting, let's say, for these. What would you guess that would be an optimal fit? So you go through the process based on their fitting philosophy, their best fitters, blah, blah, blah. What do you think that would look like?
Oh, God, I'm probably coming out, based on everything that's transpired recently, I'm probably coming out with hot metals. So I'm thinking like the 245 would be like, okay, maybe we can get away with this. That's so of the Mizuno Pro line, I think 245 is likely for me.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my best guess. And I've been intrigued by them and had, I haven't played Mizunos in a while. I don't think I've had a full set of new Mizunos in a while. But yeah, from this would be kind of the 245. That's where I'm like most likely to land. Full lineup, maybe Hot Metal Pro, possibly sneak some Forge in there. I really love the JPX Tour. I think that's just. But again, that's like me saying I really love the T100S or T150 now, and Titleist going, nope, not for you.
Nope,
good try,
no soup
buddy.
for you.
Thanks for playing.
Yep, love. Thanks for being around.
What about you? Where do you think you land?
Yeah, I mean, so it's interesting. My first part of that answer is go back to a conversation that you and I had with Chris Foschel, who is all things Mizuno. He has some title, but he's all things Mizuno, and he's saying, really at a certain point in the set, loft starts to take over in terms of creating forgiveness. Meaning, you don't often think about mishitting your lob wedge, right? In the sense of like, oh, I hit that one way off the heel and I lost all this distance, right? Stuff like that. So I say all that as kind of a caveat to, I think the 243s, I could play a set of that, say 5 through wedge. And there's a new fly high that's coming out as part of this as well. That
it looks good too, doesn't it?
That has 4-iron for me written all over it as an opportunity, because I also have a 7-wood. I don't know if I told you this. I put a 7-wood in the bag last 3-4 weeks.
Oh, yeah?
Cobra Aerojet 7-wood. This thing's unbelievable. It goes straight up, and it's awesome for hitting it high. But if I don't want that, this Mizuno Pro, the fly high looks incredible. So I'm thinking that in a 4-iron. If I can get enough ball speed and launch out of the 5 in the 243, then I could see myself going one of two ways. Either 543, 5 through wedge, or, 243, 5 through wedge. And maybe, just because I want to but shouldn't, if they say, hey, in terms of the forgiveness, really, maybe 9 pitching wedge, 8-9 pitching wedge, you could do the 241s. I probably shouldn't, but they look.
Oh no, that's just it, right?
I sit here and I'm looking at this. This is the blue one, the iron blue, finish that they did. These are the 221s. That's the 8-iron. I look at it and go, I can hit that. And, maybe it's the same thing. 80% of the time I
tell
could.
You what, I go back to the, and I think maybe I'd do the same thing. I'd be tempted to try and sneak something like that in, and for no practical reason other than they just look good, right?
Right.
This is a case where on the long end, you look at those fly highs now, and you're like, oh, I could be comfortable with those. Swap out anything in the bag for a fly high, and I'll be good, because they just look, they're going to be bigger, but whatever. I could,
right.
Oof, definitely a 4, and maybe even think about a 5, depending on how everything else works out.
I know. I think if I were just to go in for a blind fitting and do it, I would not be at all surprised if it's maybe like a 4-iron fly high and 5 through wedge in the 243s. I think that would line up with kind of what I was fit for with.
It's like Mizuno makes it so hard, right? Because a lot of brands, if I'm being honest, you look at a lineup when it comes out, and you're like, I'd play that one, and only that one,
right?
Whereas this, you're like, ooh, I could play that one. If I had to play,
if I had to, and then, but wait, they're a little more forgiving. It's like, oh, could I do the 9 and the pitching wedge in the 241s just to?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this, but far and away with our readers, Mizuno is the most popular iron brand. It way over indexes relative to the market as a whole. And I'm looking at this and go, yep, this isn't going to change that. This is these will be well received.
I think they'll be well received. I mean, Mizuno talked about this, how the 225, which is now the 245 is a replacement for that, how 225 really was a huge driver in terms of their sales within the MP line. So this player's distance category, in terms of what's resonating with just the public in general, I mean, that's doing phenomenally well. And I guess we should mention this too, getting to certain barriers, and now we are at the $200 a club barrier. I think that's going to, so these are $200 a stick. So, set of 7 if you go 4 through wedge. And I think the fly highs
and that's like, notice you said set of 7 too, because it used to be like, if I gave you an iron price, if I said, hey, these irons are $9.99,
right,
that was for 8 of them. And
that was 3 through wedge. Yeah.
These are whatever. Like, throw out any number. $16.99 for a 7-piece set. $15.99 7-piece set.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
$19.99 7-piece set. It's, man.
Yeah. So
don't love that.
Yeah. So
it's the new standard though.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at $1,400 for set of 7. I think the fly highs are $50 more. So
that is how the math works.
this is
right?
how that math cookie crumbles. So we're seeing, right? Said some of these things inch up in price a little bit, but hey, like I said, that's part of the world. It is what it is. I expect these, like I said, to be well received. Here's my only frustration, Tony, and I don't want to end on a downer.
It's not $200 per stick. That's not the frustration.
No, my frustration is can't get them till next year.
Yeah, that's always a puzzler to me. And I know with Mizuno, right, they're always trying to navigate being an international / Japanese brand, and
I get it,
and make everything align. But it's odd. I would argue maybe not even the best for business to announce an iron in October.
Because look at all this energy and excitement, and then
and then it's come January, you're gonna have I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. 47 different different competitive releases piled on top of it, and in a world which I don't want to say newer is better, but certainly even 3 months newer, 6 months newer does give the perception of some measure of advance in technology. And you have an iron that will be on the shelf, but you'll be like, I feel like I heard about that 6 months ago. It will only be like 4 months ago, but it'll still be real. So.
I know, but at least they're calling them the 241s, 240, kind of like 24 maybe, like the year. And it's like you get excited and this and that, and then
it's a tease.
It's a tease, even though you can buy them through other Japanese websites or some of these things, like whatever. But it's like, question, really? Now I gotta wait. You got me all excited. Now I gotta wait. Damn it. So that's my only bummer. But hey, if it weren't something worth looking forward to, you wouldn't be excited about it. So I guess you got that as
I'm getting old, man. Short-term memory. Like by January, I won't be excited. I'll just be confused.
And on that note, right? So as always, follow us, people. Let us know questions, thoughts, feelings, hopes, dreams. Let us know what you got. We will get to as much of it as we can. Until next time, no putts given. We out.